This is a story from the Fortune Ledger HQ. Success doesn't usually look dangerous. It looks calm. It looks earned. It looks like the moment when the struggle finally ends and the pressure eases. It looks like proof that you were right all along. And that is exactly why it's so lethal. Failure announces itself loudly. It hurts. It's embarrassing. It forces reflection. It demands change. But success is quiet. Success whispers reassurance. It tells you that your instincts are correct, your systems are perfect, and your future is secure. And history shows, again and again, that this whisper has destroyed more people, companies, and empires than failure ever could. Because failure pushes you forward. Success convinces you to stop. At first, success feels like relief. After years of uncertainty, things finally work. The product sells. The strategy pays off. The audience grows. The money arrives. The validation follows. And with that validation comes a subtle shift. The mindset that once questioned everything begins to defend everything. What once felt fragile now feels permanent. What once demanded vigilance now feels safe. This is the moment danger enters the room. When you are failing, you are alert. You experiment. You adapt. You listen closely to feedback because you need it to survive. You notice small changes because they matter. But when you succeed, you stop listening. Not intentionally, not arrogantly, gradually, quietly. You assume the future will resemble the past because it always has. You assume your advantage is structural rather than temporary. You mistake momentum for immunity. And that mistake is deadly. History is filled with stories of people and institutions that failed early, learned brutally, and eventually built resilience. But it is also filled with stories of giants that reached the top and collapsed because they couldn't see the danger hiding inside their success. They didn't fall when they were weak. They fell when they were strong, confident, and celebrated. Success creates blind spots. Failure reveals them. When something works, we protect it. We optimize it. We repeat it. We build identities around it. Over time, that success stops being a strategy and becomes a belief. And beliefs are harder to change than strategies. When success becomes part of who you are, questioning it feels like self-destruction. So instead of adapting, you rationalize. Instead of evolving, you defend. Instead of asking what's changing, you insist nothing important has changed. This is why success often freezes people in time. The world does not reward static excellence. It rewards adaptation. And adaptation requires humility. Failure teaches humility by force. Success removes the incentive to learn it. Think about how often the warning signs are visible long before collapse. The customer complaints that are dismissed as noise. The competitors that are underestimated. The new technology that is mocked instead of studied. The cultural shifts that are ignored because the current system is still profitable. None of these signs feel urgent when success is still delivering results. And that is the trap. The lag between cause and consequence allows dangerous complacency to feel rational. By the time the results stop coming, the ability to respond has already been lost. Success also changes incentives. When you're climbing, risk is necessary. When you're at the top, risk feels reckless. Systems become designed not to win the future, but to protect the present. Decisions shift from bold to cautious. Innovation gives way to optimization. Leaders stop asking what could work next and start asking what might threaten what already works. Over time, this creates fragility disguised as strength. The most successful systems often become the most brittle because they have never been stress-tested by real adversity. Failure forces adaptation early. Success delays it until it's too late. That's why many collapses feel sudden even though they were inevitable. The decay happened quietly while everything looked fine. There is also a psychological cost to success that rarely gets discussed. Success reinforces the idea that outcomes are primarily the result of skill, intelligence, or superior judgment. Failure, on the other hand, reminds us of uncertainty, randomness, and limits. When success goes on long enough, people begin to overestimate their control over complex systems. They forget how much of their rise was influenced by timing, environment, or luck. This illusion of control breeds overconfidence. Overconfidence leads to decisions made with incomplete information, dismissed warnings, and underestimated risks. And because success has rewarded similar decisions in the past, each risky choice feels justified. The feedback loop becomes self-reinforcing. Wins validate confidence. Confidence increases risk. Risk eventually meets reality. Reality always wins. Failure humbles quickly. Success delays humility until the cost is unbearable. This pattern repeats at every scale. Individuals who peak early often struggle later because they never learn how to rebuild. Companies that dominate markets often fall because they confuse dominance with permanence. Nations that rise to power often decline because they assume their position is natural rather than conditional. Success creates the illusion of arrival. Failure reminds you the journey never ends. One of the most dangerous effects of success is identity fusion. When people succeed at something long enough, they stop seeing it as what they do and start seeing it as who they are. Their business becomes their identity. Their strategy becomes their personality. Their status becomes their self-worth. Any threat to the system feels like a personal attack. And when adaptation requires abandoning or radically changing the very thing that made them successful, they resist not because it's irrational, but because it feels existential. Failure never lets identity get too rigid. It keeps you flexible because survival demands it. Another overlooked danger is that success attracts noise. Praise increases. Critics soften. Feedback becomes filtered. People tell you what you want to hear because you are successful. You become surrounded by agreement, not truth. Failure does the opposite. It strips away false allies and exposes reality quickly. It is painful, but it is honest. Success lies politely. Failure tells the truth brutally. There is also a timing problem. Failure gives immediate feedback. Success gives delayed consequences. The decisions that feel smart today may carry costs that don't appear for years. By the time those costs surface, the original decision makers may be gone, promoted, or protected by their past success. The system rewards short-term wins and punishes long-term thinking. And success allows this misalignment to persist longer than it should. This is why so many collapses feel unfair or unexpected. The seeds were planted long before anyone noticed the consequences. Success also changes how people interpret signals. When you are failing, weak signals matter. When you are succeeding, weak signals are ignored. Only strong signals are taken seriously. But in complex systems, strong signals usually appear too late. Early warning signs are subtle. They require attention, curiosity, and humility. Trait success slowly erodes. Failure keeps curiosity alive. Success often kills it. None of this means success is bad. It means success is dangerous when it goes unquestioned. The problem is not winning. The problem is believing that winning means the game is over. The most resilient people and organizations treat success not as validation, but as a temporary condition. They assume the environment will change. They assume competitors will learn. They assume customers will evolve. They assume what works today will eventually fail. And because they assume this, they prepare for it. They build systems that challenge their own assumptions. They reward dissent. They invest in experiments that threaten existing success. They act paranoid not because they are weak, but because they understand how fragile dominance really is. Failure teaches this lesson by force. Success requires discipline to learn it voluntarily. The irony is that many people chase success as a way to escape uncertainty. But success does not eliminate uncertainty. It only delays your confrontation with it. And the longer uncertainty is ignored, the more expensive it becomes. This is why the fall is often steeper for the successful than for the struggling. When you fail early, you fail small. When you succeed for too long, you fail big. Failure trains resilience. Success tests it. The most dangerous moment in any journey is not the beginning, when resources are scarce and mistakes are obvious. It is the middle, when momentum is high and feedback is distorted. It is the moment when systems appear stable, rewards are flowing, and questioning feels unnecessary. That is when vigilance matters most. Success should be treated like a temporary advantage, not a permanent achievement. It should trigger more questions, not fewer. It should inspire paranoia, not comfort. It should be a reminder that the rules can change at any moment, and that past victories offer no guarantees. Failure prepares you for the future. Success convinces you the future will behave, and the future never does. If there is one lesson history teaches relentlessly, it is this: nothing fails like success left unexamined. The same traits that build greatness can destroy it if they harden into certainty. The same confidence that fuels growth can blind judgment. The same momentum that creates dominance can prevent adaptation. Success is dangerous not because it corrupts character, but because it distorts perception. It changes what you see, what you hear, and what you believe about the world. And unless you actively fight that distortion, it will quietly guide you toward decisions that feel reasonable right up until the moment everything breaks. So the real skill is not achieving success. The real skill is surviving it. If you want to build something that lasts, you must learn to treat success the way failure treats you: with skepticism, with humility, with constant questioning, with the understanding that today's win is tomorrow's vulnerability. That mindset is rare because it is uncomfortable, because it denies the emotional reward people seek from success. But it is the only mindset that endures. If this perspective challenged the way you think about achievement, power, and progress, then this is exactly the kind of thinking we explore on this channel. Subscribe to the Fortune Ledger HQ and join a community that looks beyond headlines and into the mechanics of history, where we break down the hidden forces behind wealth, empires, and economic history through stories that reveal how success is built and how it is lost.